So today, what is today's question, Victoria?
The question today is, how do I trademark my clothing brand using my own list of clothing?
So let's start out first of all with Victoria telling us a possible clothing brand name that she might want to trademark.
How about up-down threads?
Okay, awesome. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to actually do just a quick search to see what we find. As I've told you guys multiple times, all you have to do is go to test.uspto.gov, and once you're here, you'll see a search option. So I'm going to make the screen big here, and let's get right into it. So I already entered in up down threads. I will do it again, and let's do a structured search. We're going to search under class 25 for the sake of efficiency. Let's do up down. Let's see if anything comes up. And this is going to be the basic index. Don't forget the and. That's a really big mistake that a lot of people make, is they forget that and they get all tripped up. At least I did, especially when I was first learning how to do this. International class 25. Let's see what comes up. Let's see if there's anything directly on point. Search on this section. Well, I'm gonna probably guess, given that nothing came up too early on, we're probably safe going forward with this particular brand of clothing. So let's go for it. So the first step, I showed you guys how to get to here yesterday. Just for the sake of completeness, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up real quick and show you guys how to do it from the very beginning. So you're going to go to, well, okay, I'm already logged in, but you're going to click on Start Your Application in TIAS. And again, this URL, I think we provided it for you guys yesterday. I think it was this one, I believe. And that will take you to this page here. Initial application form. This is the page that I just displayed here. But if you go here and then click on initial application forms and then start your application in TIAS, you'll be right where you need to be. So I already logged in. Again, if you don't yet have a USPTO.gov account, just make one. It's really, really simple. It's a nice thing to have. Once you're here, yesterday we did the plus application. So the whole point of this video is to show you guys how to do your own list. So you're going to pay another $50 more, but you're going to have latitude. So Victoria is going to be able to actually provide us with a full description of goods so of clothing, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, jeans, whatever she wants to list, she'll be able to list it. She's not going to be limited to particular categories that are provided by USPTO.gov site. So you will actually be able to provide your own list of clothing and put it into your application. So in order to do that, we're going to click on TIAS Standard. Now remember, if you do this, you're going to end up paying $50 more. However, you're going to have that flexibility. So again, I often recommend that you do the TIAS Standard. It's really, in my opinion, it tends to almost always be worth it. If not just for the fact that even later down the road, when you're actually prosecuting the trademark, when you're having the back and forth with the trademark examiner, you'll have latitude, because if you need to, for some reason, amend the description of goods, you'll be able to, and you're not going to be pigeonholed by by the categories that are provided by the trademark site. So we're going to do TIAS Standard. I'm going to pretend here that it's not an attorney filing. We can go through other examples. We'll make some content specifically for practitioners, but I want to give just a general video explanation of how anybody can do this on their own and file for a trademark application on their clothing brand. So we're going to hit continue. Here, for the owner of the mark, let's just say it's me. And again, they do this interesting format where they want you to put your last name, comma, first name, middle initial. And we talked about this, again, we talked about this in yesterday's episode, but if you have a DBA, make sure that it's actually a registered DBA. Don't just click DBA if you don't actually have doing business as registered with your county. And I'm an individual. I will tell you that often what we do is we actually do it corporations and limited liability companies. These are probably the majority of filings that we see professionally. Again, if you pick corporation or limited liability company, that is all fine if you have an LLC, but just remember, you're going to have to indicate the state of incorporation. So you're going to actually have to say what state. So if I was in California, if my LLC was in California, I would pick California here. But again, we're doing an individual filing, so it'll just be individual, and you do have to indicate your citizenship. Interestingly, I don't know if we've spoken about this, but there's a new rule that if you're what's called, if you're domiciled outside of the U.S., then you need local counsel in the U.S. So you can't be foreign domiciled and filed in Mark without local counsel, essentially. And this is a new rule, came in to existence relatively recently, and so ask you to indicate your citizenship. And for the mailing address, what we're going to do, I have a mailing address at Impact Hub, Oakland, and 4612. And again, if you want privacy, you can indicate a domicile address, and this isn't going to show up. It'll show up on the initial application filing forms, but it won't appear on the public records. So just think about that if you really care about maintaining your domicile confidential. And in that case, you could just have a PO box up here or a more public address, for example, your office, for example. And again, phone number optional. We're gonna get a warning. I'm not gonna enter my phone number. I don't like doing this. It's just another place where you can maintain privacy. So I just like to omit my phone number. And same thing with fax number. However, you are required to input your email. So just be aware of that. You do have to input your email address. You can't get away without that. And again, if you have a website address that you want to put, go ahead and put it here. And remember, when we hit continue, we're going to get a warning. Don't be alarmed. It's just saying that they prefer that you enter your phone number in case the examining attorney has to or wants to reach out to you. But remember, they have your email, so they can always contact you via email. So let's hit continue. Now we get to the fun part. This is the part where we get to have Victoria's involvement. So it was up-down threads, right, Victoria? Or up-down?
Yeah.
Do you want up-down threads or just up-down?
Up-down threads. We can have both.
Awesome. Now, one thing about caps, this is really about preference. I would say that you want this to match how your text will look on your product as closely as possible, but it's not really a big deal. If you click on this button here, preview USPTO generated image, you'll get a pop-up and it'll actually show a JPEG image format of your mark. So it's going to be basically up-down threads, but it's going to be in a JPEG format. Okay, now we're going to hit continue, and now is where the fun starts. So this is where you are going to see the real difference between the TS Plus and the TS standard application, because now we have this beautiful option here called entering freeform text. This is great because this is actually going to let us enter, as it says, anything we want for the description of goods. So, but just for the sake of example, just in case you missed yesterday's episode, searching the ID manual, adding goods and services from the manual is something that is a TS Plus only option. So just real quick, I just want to show you guys, just so you guys get a real flavor for how great it is. So again, I'm going to let Victoria give us the list in a second, but real quick, I just want to show you. So you would enter, this is like the TS Plus version. So you would have to essentially select what's available here in the manual, and then you would insert the entries. But we're not going to do it this way. We're going to note the fact that we paid $50 more and have the flexibility of entering freeform text, which is such a great option. Highly recommend it. Paid another $50. So we're going to click add goods and services. So make sure entering freeform text is selected, then hit add goods and services. Now, here is the thing though. This application, now there's a whole lot of text coming at you. Don't you think, Victoria? I mean, this is a lot looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be alarmed. Honestly, a lot of this actually is just instructional. The trademark office actually puts out content as well, and you can read it. I mean, I always encourage you, more data points the better. The more you read, always more information is only going to help you. But if you're trying to get this done, just note here that really you only have to worry about a couple things. So one is you got to get the class number, but we're doing clothing. We're going to do a lot of other examples for how you can trademark other cool things that are really popular and that a lot of people do. But for the sake of this video, clothing, we're keeping it simple. It's class 25. Now, remember, we've made other content and other videos and on how to figure out what that class is. But just real quick, if you ever get confused, just remember, all you have to do is go to the Trademark ID manual. So just Google Trademark ID manual, and you can search, and that'll be a quick way to figure out what class you're in. So once you know the class, in here, you are going to identify the goods and services. So this is where the 50 extra dollars you paid comes in real handy. So we can say something like clothing and apparel. And the trademark office loves the word namely. You'll see it in all kinds of trademark registrations. But after namely, I'm just going to list out all the clothing. So Victoria, what kind of clothing are you going to be selling?
Like suits, like business suits.
I love it. Suits.
Like dress shoes.
Dress shoes. Good job, by the way. Dress shoes are also in class 25. We discovered that yesterday when we did a search that footwear also falls under class 25. How about vests, since you're getting fancy on me?
Yeah, vest.
And sweaters.
Perfect.
Anything else?
No, I think that's fine.
Perfect. And sweaters, and we're gonna hit period. And this is gonna be our description of goods that we're gonna sell. Again, I recommend be as thorough as possible. If you're gonna be selling more, make sure to put it in here. And again, we are going to start our brand. So we haven't yet started selling, which is why we are gonna select section 1B. This is a no mark of use yet, but we intend to use. And again, you're gonna have to make a sworn declaration in this application that you actually intend to use this mark in commerce to sell these items. So make sure that this is a truthful statement and that you have a bona fide intent to do this. This is really important. Now, when we click section 1B, you're going to pick section 1B, and then you're going to mark this checkbox. And this checkbox is essentially that sworn statement that I just explained. So bona fide intention, that you're entitled to use this mark in commerce, and that you are going to. Very important. So once we click assign filing basis, we are almost done. We hit continue here. This is just saying that you've entered some free-form text. And once we select this, check this box and hit continue, we're going to be good to go. So we're going to file under clothing and apparel, namely business and professional suits, dress shoes, vests, and sweaters under class 25, and continue. And we are almost done, guys. So here you're going to enter your docket number. I'm just going to do AVA. I'm going to do T02 because yesterday we did T01. And I can put in Victoria's email address if I want, but again, if you have additional email addresses, like if you have an assistant, if you have other people on your team, if you're a practitioner, you would here at this point, you would enter in this other email addresses, just so that other people that are associated with you will stay informed on the status of your application. So once we get here, we hit continue, and we are almost done, guys. Now it's just a question of signing. So I'm gonna sign directly because I'm doing it as if I were filing this trademark application for myself. So I'm going to do sign directly. Then basis, it's a 1B. This is just referencing the United States Code. Again, this checkbox here just indicates that I believe I have a right to register this trademark. And clicking here, I'm acknowledging that all the factual statements here have support. And clicking here, this last checkbox is on perjury, just saying that I can be imprisoned if I lie or make up something that isn't true. Then again, signing, they have this weird thing where you can just sign. I mean, it's not weird, actually. It's actually quite nice because you don't have to actually sign anything. You can just type your name. All you do is type it in between slashes. It's going to autofill a date for you if you just tab or click on it. And then, again, you got to do this thing where you do last name and then middle initial. And for this, owner or holder. So if it's your brand and you are the one that's going to be using this mark to sell the goods that we described before, then you'd be the owner. So I'm the owner. Now remember, again, this is your LLC. We're going to do an LLC filing tomorrow or sometime this week. But if you were doing that, then you wouldn't be owner. You'd probably be a managing member, or if you have a title like Chief Executive Officer, CEO, or President, you'd put that in here. And then lastly, just to round it out, we're going to put in our phone number. So once we enter that, we're almost done, and we're going to hit validate. And we're there. Now we just submit. So now, again, you can review your application by pressing input. You'll be able to see your application. This is what's actually going to be submitted. And I recommend make sure that you go through this, make sure all this information is correct. Now, the one beautiful thing, and this is something to note, you can always go back. So I can look, if I just press back, I can actually go back and modify the application. It's actually really nice. It's a really useful thing to know. If you need to modify anything, just click back, 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 and you can actually literally modify everything from the beginning. The nice thing is that it also saves your information. So if I want to just go forward, it's going to retain all the information. You just hit continue, and all the information is going to be automatically populated for you. So this is a really, really cool thing about the trademark filing website. So we're going to continue. Again, we already validated it. I'll show you guys how to do email validations in another video, but again, validate. This is all the information we provided before. Again, just before you submit, that's the final page. Just go through the application once, make sure all the information is correct, your address, your phone number. Definitely, this is really important, guys. Make sure that the mark itself is correct. You cannot correct this after, you cannot change the name of the mark after you file. So if you filed it wrong, you're gonna have to pay another $275. So do not make a mistake on the mark that you submit. Make sure that it's correct. Now, again, this is our description ID of goods. This is the class, and this all looks good to me. Email, contact, we're going under 1B, meaning that we intend to use the mark in the future, but haven't yet started. And if we click on mark, we're gonna see, oh, here you go. So this is the JPEG version. So you could actually download it as a JPEG image if you wanted to, but this is our mark, and this all looks good to me. So I am going to hit this button saying that once I submit, I'm going to have to pay. And one quick thing I want to show you guys before I hit submit, if for any reason you're not sure about this form that you're about to submit and you want to save it and then open it up later, you can always press save form. So if you save form, it's going to save what's called an OBJ file, and you can actually upload the OBJ file back up in a future session, and it'll have everything filled out. It's a really useful tool. But I'm not going to hit save form today, but I am just going to submit because this application looks good to go. So we hit pay submit, and it's going to take me to a pay page. This is it. We're almost done filing this trademark application. The one thing I will say at this point, all you have to do, input your name, make the payment, and you'll get an email. Once you get that email, that is your filing receipt. You'll have a serial number, and you'll be in business. So all you do is hit credit card, fill out your information here, name, card information, and your address. And when you hit submit payment, you're going to get that email. So that is start to finish, nuts and bolts of how you would file a trademark application for your clothing brand.